Hi, Colin Fragar here. I've been hiring staff in the Philippines for over 12 years, and that was well before WrkPod started. I'm really grateful that WrkPod is now up and running, and at the extent that it is, because recently we have hired around 10 team members at WrkPod, and the whole process has been so seamless. I think I underestimated as an Australian business owner how important it is to have staff in the Philippines. But the second thing that I underemphasized was the importance of having them together in a close environment in the same office so they can collaborate, so they can support each other, and they can have the extra level of support that WrkPod gives.
Hi, my name is Eden and I'm from Cebu. I work for Council Approval Group. I'm the executive assistant to the CEO, Mr. Colin Frager.
Hi, my name is Lei and I am a client services representative from the Council Approval Group.
My name is Clarence Dizon with the position of a planning support coordinator.
Working for Council Approval Group has been, I would say, life-changing. It actually gives me the work-life balance.
It's like working with my family and with my close friends. Everyone has strong bond with each other.
The culture is very different because the team has been very supportive. And if there's one thing that I love working for the team is that they do encourage us to learn, to upskill, to get better at what we do every day.
What makes Council Approval Group really good with customers, it's because we are really compassionate with our clients. We always cater to whatever they need, and also we give them the best solution to their problems.
They are very empathetic to people, and they always remind us that we are here working because we need to help the average people get council approval. It's a very difficult and complicated process for most of the average people, and I believe what I do, even though I am just calling clients, helping them out with appointments, but I think with what I do, it gave me, it gives so much meaning because I get to help other people as well with just the little things that I do every day in the office.
It's like having a great team together in a single office. It feels like we can do anything, we can achieve anything.
So these are little things for improvement that not only help you as an office worker, but also help you as an individual who's in your journey for a better career.
Teamwork makes the dream work. So it's been a great experience so far, and I could definitely see myself working for Council Approval Group for a long time.
I love WrkPod. I love the team. I think they come from the right values and the right people. The team around them is incredible, and certainly recommend them to anybody who's looking at offshore staff.
Colin, thank you for meeting me here.
Jody, thank you.
Very hot Shangri-La.
I'm in a hot seat, but hopefully everybody's enjoying the nice, cool office wherever they're watching this.
Yeah. Well, thank you for taking the time. We're at a resort at the moment. Obviously, we've been here for a conference. You've been spending time with your team that you've built here with WrkPod.
Yeah.
You've got 20 staff now, is that right? Or something around that?
I think it's 25 in the Philippines.
25 staff. And that's been the last 2 years, right?
It's been incredible. Yes. Yeah. Rewind about 7 years ago when my eldest boy was just a baby, and I think we had 2 or 3 team members here.
And now you've got 25. Tell us, before we get into the specifics, tell us a little bit about your business. It's been around for a long time. There's we can't go into the whole story, but a great story from your dad through to you now running the business. Tell us about Council Approval.
Yeah, so it's a professional consultancy, Council Approval Group. It does town planning and architectural services. It helps people get council approval.
Yeah.
It's a typical blue chip style business that provides highly detailed, highly specialized advice for something which is really important for people, and that is property and how to get the most out of their real estate.
Yeah.
It was started by my father many years ago, so it had been around for a long time. And so I came into the business, and I guess I was looking for more innovative ways to grow the business and to get more resources.
And you started to grow the business before outsourcing. I know you have a lot of skills, Colin, and you started doing a lot more marketing, and the business started to grow. And then you encountered some problems because you were doing a great job, the business was growing. What were the challenges for you to continue your growth?
I think it's no secret the Australian labour shortages, that much of the Western world is very, the possibilities of being able to work with highly skilled staff is very limited.
Yeah.
And we felt like we were fishing in a very small pond. There was only a certain number of people that we could hire at any given moment.
Yeah.
And we built the business to a certain point. It was always like marketing is going really well, sales is going really well. And I build up the business, but I'd always be frustrated because I'd be hitting this wall of capacity.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the challenges, obviously, of a service-based business. But still, we felt like we wanted to expand. We felt like we had a place in the world to be able to add value. We didn't want to quit.
Yeah.
We didn't want to go and do a SaaS business. We wanted to stay with what we had. And so the issue was labor shortage.
Yeah.
And I remember a particularly challenging moment, particularly challenging year. We'd had a series of people resign, and these are highly skilled staff that we've taken years to be able to train, and for us to be able to hire a new person like this, it will probably take us 6 months in Australia to be able to get someone. And we just had about the 5th person in a row resign, and I went home that night. Just backstory, the weekend before, I'd had this brand new shed created, which was going to be like my man cave. And I'd organized all of my screws and all of my nails, and everything was perfectly laid out, and it was kind of like my escape. And I was really proud of this shed, and it was during a stressful time as a business owner. And I remember I went home that night, the latest person had just resigned, and I thought, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore. And I think we've all had those moments as a business owner where we just want to quit. And this was certainly one. And there was a lot of wind at the moment. It was a tin shed. And I got out of the car, and I realized in the backyard that the tin shed had blown over completely. And of course, all my hardware and everything, all my screws and nails and all that stuff, it completely gone everywhere.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like one of those moments where I was wondering if this was, at the end, was life getting too much? And I remember I walked out, I was standing on this shed, just completely frustrated, trying to get things back up together. My wife was watching it with the headlights going, it was freezing cold. And all of a sudden, this huge bit of ColourBond tin iron flies up in the wind. And it was like one of those moments where it just pauses, and it was spinning, and it was at my head height. And the wind gust shot it completely the other direction.
Right.
And it landed over the house on the other side of the road.
Wow.
With that much force. And that was the moment where I realized it could have gone the other way and, taken my head off. But it was also the moment when I realized that maybe I've been given another chance to make a success of this business.
Yeah.
But I needed to do things differently.
Right.
And I was looking for ideas to be able to grow my labor capacity without having to rely on the Australian labor shortage.
Right. And I think that was I guess it was around that time we started to talk, because it was initially just a curiosity that you kind of came with, like, hey, essentially you highlighted that problem. It's really hard to find town planners in Australia. They're very expensive because they're in such high demand. Perhaps they can jump to wherever they want to get work. They don't necessarily have to work that hard even sometimes. And so you kind of were like, hey, is it even possible? I think that was like the initial conversations we had was like, is it even possible for us to find this type of high caliber talent in the Philippines?
Because I knew we could do admin stuff. I knew we could do marketing. We were already doing that and answering the phone. And I knew that they could do back end things, but I was very skeptical as to whether it was possible to have the highly trained, highly educated Australian to be able to have offshore help like we have.
That's right. Yeah, because you'd already experimented and utilized successfully offshoring before WrkPod, before you knew about us. But when you connected with us, that was the question was, can we find these high caliber staff?
Yeah.
And obviously I'd experienced in my own business hiring Jong, who is my general manager. He's a lawyer.
Yeah.
And so we had this idea, like, what if we could hire a team of lawyers in the Philippines? You could basically put them through a boot camp, train them in New South Wales property law, and then get them involved in your business.
Yeah.
It was a wild, aspirational goal.
So you got me really excited about it.
Yeah.
I was skeptical. I was like, yeah, sure, Cody. Yeah, I don't think it's going to work, but I'll give it a shot.
Yeah. And so you came over to the Philippines.
Yes.
You helped us put together a video that we used to promote in the universities.
Yes.
And we were able to collect, I think maybe, was it 6? I think the first time that we hired.
We did do 6. We collected a lot more than that, but they went through a lot of
testing,
culling and testing. We probably did 6 rounds of IQ tests and all the way through to comprehension and tests you would never do in Australia because I wanted the cream of the crop.
Yeah,
I wanted to get the ultimate. I knew there was a cultural issue that I was facing in Australia, and that was, could my existing team buy into having offshore help, or were they going to reject it and then leave themselves? So it was like at a high risk point of
Right.
moment in the business. I didn't want anybody else to leave.
Right.
So I had to manage it very nicely to make sure it could not fail. If it failed, it meant that the business would fail. That's how high stakes a game was.
Wow. Right. And so you needed to be certain that the people that you were bringing on were going to be respected by their peers in Australia who were doing the same type of work.
Yeah.
And so that recruitment process went well. Obviously, we ended up hiring, I think you hired 6 the first time.
Really well.
And then how many now do we have in that specialized role?
So we have 10.
10.
So we have 10 super smart. And this is like, I think as an Australian or wherever you're watching this video from, you think that nobody can do your job as well as you.
Yeah.
Until you do it and you realize actually there's some really awesome talent out there in the world.
Yeah.
You just got to break through that psychological barrier and the cultural perceptions that you have.
Yeah.
Because every single person that you hire offshore actually creates another job in Australia or back home.
Yeah, exactly. And so what's this done for your business? I mean, we're talking about capacity as the big problem.
Yes.
Like how has it affected your capacity in the business now that you've got this team of 10 town planners here, plus all of the additional, because you said 25, there's another 15 support staff doing marketing. And
Yes.
I spoke to one of your staff members earlier who does customer service and phoning clients and booking sales appointments and stuff like that. So with all of this support now that you have with these staff here at WrkPod and also the staff you had previously working outside of the WrkPod facility, how has that impacted the capacity of your business?
I think it's best illustrated by the impact it makes in the lives of the people that we serve.
Right.
And I know that we wouldn't be able to create an affordable product.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be able to keep up. It's no secret that the Australian minimum wage is the highest in the entire world.
Yeah.
There is no nation in the entire world that has a higher minimum wage than Australia.
Right.
Which absolutely makes me mad, but also I can't get mad. I've got to get even, and I've got to be able to create a better situation. And this is what we've been able to do. So we've been able to create this impact in people's lives with the clients we serve by maximizing their property value, getting the subdivision approved or the extra granny flat or the extra dwelling.
Yeah.
And because of that then means that marriages are saved.
Yeah.
Because of the financial pressure that's reduced,
Yeah.
extra income. It means that the entrepreneur that needs an approval for their premises can get it done.
Yeah.
And I wonder what would happen to the now over 30,000 people that we've served across Australia. If we didn't exist, they would have given up on their dream. And that's what keeps me going.
Yeah. And so how many people, like what's the difference? Like if we rewind 2 years when it was Colin plus 3 offshores and you were in that situation of frustration, like how many people were we able to serve? And then now, like on a month-to-month basis, our capacity to serve, I imagine it's increased substantially.
Over 10,000 people in the last 2 years. Yeah,
You've
been able to serve an additional 10,000 people.
Wow.
And that's everything from, yes, the core talent, which we needed to be able to do some of the core work, through to the periphery. Well, how do we keep up with that sort of growth? How do we have the phones answered? How do we have the marketing done? How do we keep up with the social media comments?
Yeah.
How do we produce the architectural plans? All of it starts to integrate.
Yeah.
And I think what's beautiful is that it's not this is the Philippine team and this is the Australian team.
Yeah.
It's very much, this is our team.
Talk to me a little bit about that, because even today I was watching your local Australian team interacting with your Filipino team.
Yeah.
And you talked about that being a big concern, like in that situation, if it went bad, it could have really gone bad. How did you manage to integrate the local team with the Filipino team? I think that's a big concern for a lot of people that are potentially in a similar situation to you. How do you like, what tips, I guess, do you have to make sure you get that same result?
Okay, so I've got some good ones. The first one is that I eliminated from my vocabulary the term virtual assistant. It comes from America or somewhere like that. It's a US-based term. And I've changed, it's just a team member. They're just a team member that's equal. Yeah. We're all virtual now, and in this day and age, we're all able to work remotely if we want to.
Yeah.
So I think that was an important one. I make sure that the team meetings that I have online, whenever I have a team meeting, there's always both Filipinos and Australians there. They're not separate.
Yeah.
I've been able to, and this is something that I think a lot of the watchers would benefit from.
Yeah.
Whenever, particularly in this high risk game, when I was replacing these highly educated, not replacing, I should say that again, when I was adding to the capacity, because I haven't lost any of the Australians. That's the important point.
Wow.
Actually, since in the last 2 years, I've probably been able to hire another 5 to 10 Australians because I've been able to hire these ones in the Philippines.
Yes.
So I've doubled the on both sides.
Yeah.
But what I was able to do was I was able to create this ecosystem for 3 months, this training ground where they weren't working on live projects.
Yeah.
And they did training in the morning for half an hour, then they'd go and try it, then do another training half an hour. And we did that for a full 3 months, testing before they did live projects. And then they went live, then they went out into the real world and they did actual live client work.
Yeah.
But of course, then that's peer reviewed from back in Australia.
Yeah. It's fantastic. You've done a great job. And obviously you're a great people manager and, you deserve a lot of the credit for, what you've been able to achieve.
But also to WrkPod as well, because, I mean, you embody who WrkPod are. You've come with the values of who we are. You're a can-do attitude, a can-do organization.
Yeah.
But you come from a point of values and ethics and doing the right thing. And I just love what WrkPod does, that it's not just about helping businesses to get the talent they need. It's also helping businesses to fulfill their mission.
Yeah.
And also all the impact that you do for good around. It's like, I wonder in the people's lives that are watching this, if you're at a pivot point,
You're sweating
I'm
from
sweating. I'm
all
so
of that.
passionate. If you're at a pivot point in your business decision as to whether you go ahead or not, it's like you will circle back to this moment in time when you decided to hire offshore talent or to expand it or to break this mold of how you hire.
Yeah.
And if you can break through that, that could be the difference between your business succeeding in the future or not, because there's so many changes that are coming in business.
Yeah.
You've got to be ready. You've got to have the team.
Yeah. I honestly think that companies that are not embracing a global village approach to their teams, where we're all equal. Yes, we maybe earn less in a country like the Philippines, where the cost of living is lower. The minimum wage you spoke about is much lower. So it allows these very talented and smart people that are capable of doing all the things that we can do in Australia and in other countries around the world. We can access that talent for a lower rate. But all of us win if we approach that global village mentality. We can, like you said, grow your local team in Australia and our international team. I think companies that don't do that, it's going to be challenging for them to survive.
Yeah.
Because it's happening more and more in every industry.
I don't know how any business that's small or medium sized can survive anymore in Australia without offshore talent.
Yeah.
I think it's game over if you don't do it.
So shameless plug here as we come to an end. How's WrkPod been able to support you? We've spoken a little bit about it, but I guess specifically, like, what were the challenges that you feel like, I guess personally, that I was able to assist with, or WrkPod in general? Like, how have we made this possible? Because you already had experience with hiring some staff remotely. It's not as if, you hadn't done this a little bit before, but what were the challenges that we were able to help you solve and to get to where you are now?
Yeah, I'm coming from this from I'd already had quite a bit of experience. I'd already been hiring offshore before I met WrkPod.
Yeah.
Probably for about 8 years beforehand.
Yeah.
They'd all been working in their own home offices.
Yeah.
And I think that's still a great model. That still plays a role.
Yeah.
But I realized for what I was trying to achieve, I needed the team to all be in one central location. I needed them to learn from each other and cross-pollinate. This is not just something where you can create a business that you could just create a system and if they follow it precisely, everything's fine.
No.
They need to be able to collaborate and to be able to gather that momentum.
Yeah.
So I was looking for a central office location. The question then is, where do you put that central office location?
Yeah.
Is it in downtown in Australia?
Yeah.
The CBD, where there's limited resources and a huge overhead cost?
Yeah.
Or do you move to a place like the Philippines? Then when you're in the Philippines, do you go for Manila, which might be highly
competitive,
high cost and competitive?
Yeah.
Probably talent, but you pay for the talent.
Yeah.
What WrkPod helped me to introduce was to look into more regional areas where there's still great talent, but the costs are more affordable.
Yeah.
And that's something that was really big. They helped me with recruitment. So 1, in terms of location, where should I set up? 2, in terms of recruitment.
Yeah.
I felt like I was pretty good at recruitment and I've got a few tricks that I like to do, but the contacts and the local knowledge, particularly in a highly skilled recruitment that you're trying to do, you need to leverage off the networks that are already there.
Yes.
So networking into universities, networking into, in my case, law firms and things like that, but whatever it was, just using that knowledge.
Yeah.
They certainly helped in terms of the filtering of that.
Yeah.
I did do, and not every client needs to do this because WrkPod can do it entirely, but I did a lot of the filtering as well. So it worked as a joint collaboration.
Yeah.
And even there was an opportunity for me able to put some marketing budget
Yes.
to WrkPod to help
Yeah.
to attract even more talent.
Yeah.
Because I really wanted to get the cream.
Yeah.
And then they helped with the final onboarding, helped with advice in
Yeah.
terms of the the legal structures and any kind of paperwork that I needed to have behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I think I knew that before I got into WrkPod, but what I underestimated when I got into WrkPod was the culture that exists outside of my team, but in the WrkPod offices.
Right.
Whether it's the fun Fridays that they have, or the fun activities, the way that they collaborate and have big events as well.
Yeah.
And I feel like someone's got my back. If anything ever happened to me as a business owner, I feel like there would be someone from WrkPod that would step in and make sure things are running until the transition happens.
Yeah. Well, we just really appreciate the opportunity to work with you. And I guess what I wanted to get out of this video, and I mean, you've said it all in what you've been talking about, but, the way we work at WrkPod, we want to be able to be flexible when we've got people like yourself that have very specific needs. Like our normal advertised service on our website, a lot of people might think that it's just, administration people or customer service or marketing assistants, but even businesses with very specific needs like you had, the talent's there. The talent's there in the Philippines.
Yes.
And if we've got a business owner or a founder like yourself that is committed to it, that was why it worked. I want to give you credit. Obviously, I think we were able to help you, but it wouldn't have worked if you didn't have that attitude to we got to make this work. But we're willing to kind of be flexible. We figured out the best way to recruit for your particular role. Putting ads up on Facebook is not going to get lawyers applying for the job.
Yeah.
We had to knock down the doors of the law firms. We had to meet the deans of the university. Thankfully, John, our general manager, still lectures at one of the universities. He's a lawyer, qualified lawyer. So we were able to use those to get the candidates, and you being willing to be a part of the recruitment process with your video and being a bit more hands-on with meeting the candidates. Together we were able to make this happen. So I just want to, say thank you for, allowing me to be a part of it. And it's great to be connected with business owners who are, not just in it for the money, but are looking to find ways to impact more lives. And that's what you guys do every day. So I appreciate being a small part of that.
And thank you, Cody, and to the WrkPod team. If it wasn't for you, I doubt I would still be running my business, and I would have given up. Going back to that pivot point where that shed blew down and I almost kind of lost my life.
Yeah.
It went down to that decision of hiring better offshore talent.
Wow.
So you made it possible. So now I get to enjoy that lifestyle with my family.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.